To celebrate the end of the Elizabethan module on my main channel, I thought it'd be nice to take a look at what Christmas was like for Elizabethans. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see any of these traditions make a comeback. Unlike our own Christmas, which focuses on the Christmas Day, the 25th of December, Elizabethan Christmases lasted 12 days, from the 25th to the 6th of January. The period was a time to eat, drink and be merry. Feasts, parties and entertainment continued throughout the period. Elizabeth encouraged merriment, and after the more sombre days of her sister Mary's rule, Elizabeth was seen as a breath of fresh air. The festivities began on Christmas Eve, when people would decorate their homes with evergreen plants like holly and ivy. They would visit neighbours and sing carols. It was also the day for wassailing. This is a custom no longer popular in England, where young members of the Lord's household would go out with a barrel of hot spiced cider and serve it to the local people. The term comes from the greeting that accompanied the cider. The server would say, "Well hail," which means be well, and the receiver would say, "Drink hail," which means drink well. Another tradition from Christmas Eve was the Yule log. This is not the chocolate-covered Swiss roll that we know today, but an actual wooden log. The men from the household were sent out on Christmas Eve to chop down the tree, which had been specifically selected for the purpose, and the huge log was brought inside. The log was expected to burn throughout the festive period, and at the end, when the ashes were cleared, people took remaining parts of the log to keep in their houses as a ward against fire over the next year. A piece was also kept behind to light the Yule log the following year. People took the time to decorate their homes using any green plants they could find. There were no Christmas trees yet, but homes would be covered in holly, ivy and evergreen branches. Mistletoe is also likely to have been used, but the idea of kissing underneath it came much later. In Elizabeth's England, a kissing bough was created. This is like a wreath woven from evergreen plants and fruits under which people would warmly embrace visitors to their home. Churches were similarly decorated. Additionally, they would sometimes place a figure of the baby Jesus on the altar, but there was no nativity scene as yet, as that came over from Italy at the earliest at the end of the 17th century. Christmas was also a time when the usual rules of society were relaxed. A lord of misrule was appointed in wealthier homes. This was usually a junior servant or peasant whose job it was to provide and organise the entertainment. They wore clownish costumes with stockings and bells. Entertainment included plays, singing and dancing, games, gambling, sports and jokes. One of the popular games was Hoodman's Blind, which is similar to Blind Man's Buff, except that the person wearing the hood was repeatedly hit by the other players until they guessed who struck the blow. Another illustration of social norms being suspended was the requirement of the wealthy to provide for the poor during this season. Wealthy landowners were expected to provide a feast for their tenants and servants on at least one of the days of Christmas. They were also expected to provide extra charity for the poor who came calling. This is where we get the phrase humble pie. The parts of a dish not used in the roasts and dishes served in the main feast were turned into a humble pie, which comprised of kidneys or intestines, brains, heart or liver. This was then served to poorer people in the community. Just like today, gifts were given at Christmas, but not on the 25th like we do today. Presents were exchanged on the 1st of January in Elizabeth's England. Traditional presents included an orange stuck with cloves or a small piece of ginger, but for the wealthy, presents were much more lavish. The Queen was known to spend freely on presents for her courtiers. The Queen herself received lavish presents, mainly consisting of money in satin and silk purses. The revelry would continue until Twelfth Night, the 6th of January, when a final party was held. On the following day, which was known as Plough Monday, this was the day that people returned to their normal duties, but not without a few traditions. A decorated plough was dragged around the community by young men who would knock on doors to collect money for the parish. There was also sometimes a race where the ploughmen would try to get their whips to the fire hearth before the young women could put kettles on them. Okay, that is everything you need to know about an Elizabethan Christmas. Don't forget to join me on Sunday for the final in the Elizabeth module. Also, make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment, and I always reply to you as quickly as I can. Remember, I am 100% self-funded, so if you like my content, I really appreciate it if you buy me a coffee to keep me going. The link's in the description, and that's everything for today, and I will see you next time.